My mom flipped out over my baby's gender. Now I'm wondering if I should cut contact. For a little background, my husband, 29M, and I, 24F, are having our first baby coming this spring. In December, we had our anatomy scan. For those who don't know, it's the ultrasound where baby and all the organs are measured to check to see if baby will even be able to survive outside my body. It's also the ultrasound where you can find out the gender of your baby if you so please. Unfortunately, the stress of the idea of not knowing if the baby would survive outside of my body caused me to essentially give myself a 24HR bug. And the night before the appointment, I couldn't stop throwing up and had a bad case of the anxiety runs almost the entire night. Because of this, the day of the appointment I was absolutely wiped, but I made it through, and thankfully the scan came back perfectly, and even though we would have been happy with either gender, we were both thrilled to find out that we're having a girl. My Miel has been dying to find out the gender of her first grandbaby. However, my husband told me that she's more of an old-fashioned woman and would prefer for us to tell her in person rather than a text, whereas my mom and biodad didn't really care how they found out as long as they found out. The appointment was on a Wednesday, and we were supposed to have a family gathering at my Miel's house that Saturday, so 3 days after the appointment. I was really excited about the gender of the baby and really wanted to tell someone, so I sent my mom a text telling her the gender, and then added that no one else knew the gender yet, and that she should keep quiet about it. She agreed. Big mistake. Let me note that even though my bug had gone away after we found out the scan went on, I was still absolutely wiped as I hadn't had much sleep due to the vomiting runs that I had all night. So even though my husband suggested giving his mom a call, I really wasn't feeling up to it and just wanted to sleep. He didn't want to tell his mom the news without me present, so we agreed to wait until Saturday to tell his mom. Begin Thursday. I put a quick post on Facebook letting my friends know that the anatomy scan went great and that I would be updating everyone on the gender on Saturday afternoon. I added to the post my and my husband's initial guesses on what we thought the gender would be, and thought it would be fun to ask people what they think the gender would be and to put their guesses in the comments. This is when all hell broke loose. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what the actual fuck my mom was thinking. When entrusting someone with a secret, I expect that they pretend like they know nothing. For example, if I tell my friend that I have a crush on someone, I expect them to keep it to theirself and not go around bragging in people's faces that they know I have a crush on someone, but that they're not allowed to tell anyone. Well, that's exactly what my mom did. She commented, essentially just rubbing it in people's faces that she knew the gender of the baby. She said something like, "I know the gender of the baby, but I know I'm not allowed to tell anyone, so I'll respect that." And yes, she used the emoji too. Of course, when she had posted that comment, I was in a group meeting, and the building I was in had no signal, so I wasn't able to catch it. When I exited the building, I was immediately greeted by a text from my Miel, upset about the fact that my mom knew the gender and she didn't. I explained to her that we were planning on telling her in person on Saturday, and that I hadn't felt up to a phone call the day before. She refused to hear me out, and began demanding that I tell her the gender right then over text. I showed it to my husband when I got home, and bless his soul, he told me not to tell her as she was being too demanding and she could wait until Saturday. Jump to the Friday in the week after. My mom and stepdad were planning on moving across the country because my dad had a job offer. I had stopped by to help them with some things, and I had told my mom that, when I had said not to tell anyone, I also meant not to tell people that she knew. Maybe I was assuming too much, but I thought that was an obvious thing. She apologized, and I accepted it. However, later that day she asked if we had a name picked out, and I said that we had a first name picked out but not a middle name yet. She asked if I would tell her the name, and I said no, that we weren't announcing the name until after the baby is born. She seemed to have dropped it, until she asked another time. I told her again, no, because we weren't announcing it. Then I went home. The next day my husband and I stopped by to pick up some things, and my mom started asking again if we would tell her the gender, and I again said no. Right before we left, she asked me again. At this point I was done. I will admit that my wording came out bad because my damn pregnancy brain makes me struggle to come up with words, especially when I need them the most. What I meant to say was that, no, sorry, but the last time we had important information, it was leaked that someone knew about it. We don't want that happening again. Instead, what came out was, sorry, but you kinda broke my trust. Which, admittedly, I did feel like she broke my trust. I had trusted her with information that no one else knew, and she proceeded to rub it on everyone's face that she knew. We went home and my mom stopped talking to me for a week. She finally called me and absolutely flipped the fuck out at me for saying that she had broken my trust. She claimed that me saying that had compared her to her ex-husband, my biodad, who had cheated on her multiple times with multiple women. Girl, what? She also said that if I would have told her that we didn't want to tell anyone the name, that she would have accepted the answer and not asked again. Girl, what? She literally asked me 3 times after I had initially told her that we didn't want to announce the name. I don't know what you think accepting an answer is, but continuing to ask after you've already been told no is absolutely not accepting the answer. To top that all off, she chastised me about me not telling my Miel about the gender at the same time that I had told her, even though I had told my mom the full story, that I had been sick and wasn't feeling up to the call, and that Miel was being too demanding, and my husband told me to wait. To which, when I initially told my mom this, she had replied, good for him. You don't get to play the victim game and lie about this shit when it's convenient for you. Oh, and we haven't reached the top of the cake yet. She threatened to go NC with me and told me that she had just been planning on moving across the country and never talking to me again over this. As I was trying to talk to her, she kept on talking over me and arguing back. I finally said, Mom, I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you. I was trying to add, I expect to take care of this calmly like adults. But she cut me off right after I said that I wasn't gonna sit and argue with her, and she said, if you hang up on me, that's it. I'm done. I will never talk to you again, even though she hadn't even let me finish my full sentence. I had my phone on the lowest volume, and from the next seat over on the couch my husband was sitting, and could still hear every word my mom was saying because she was flipping out that loudly. And as he sat there, his jaw was on the floor. After I finally got her calmed down and we hung up, my husband said, is it bad that I'm suddenly glad she's moving across the country? Anyways, my mom thinks we worked it all out, and has been trying to text me like nothing happened. I just don't even know what to do at this point. I've only answered the necessary texts, because I honestly don't really want to talk to my mom right now. I'm not planning on going NC with her cause I'm not gonna stoop to her level, but at the same time part of me never wants to talk to her again. The way she flipped out was so fucking immature. And it sounds terrible, but I'm almost starting to be thankful that she and my biodad divorced. He's the type of guy who learned from his mistakes and cleaned up his life, and in all a good man, and I'm really kinda glad he didn't have to spend the last 19 years with a woman that throws temper tantrums like a fucking teenager. Anyway, that's my family, and the story of how I fucked up by telling my mom the gender of her unborn grandbaby. I really hope and pray that I never treat my daughter the way that she treated me. Update: I had originally posted this to get everything off my chest, since after a month it was still bothering me, and I hoped that ranting to a bunch of people I didn't know would make me feel better. But y'all have me actually wondering if I do need to go no contact with her. Up until now, it was just my mom's behavior that I've dealt with pretty much my entire life, but seeing your perspectives have made me realize just how sad it was that I had accepted behavior like that as the norm. Since posting this message earlier this morning, I've put together a message and decided to reach out to my biodad for hopefully neutral approach from someone who is familiar with my mom's behavior pattern. Fortunately, my mom's beef with my dad is entirely one-sided. She has a habit of holding on to grudges. So even though my dad has long come to peace with their divorce and cleaned up his life, my mom still holds bitter feelings towards him. I'm hoping his perspective will help me decide where to go to next from here. I'll update again when I hear back from him. Commenter, information diet. And also, her threat of never talking to you again would also mean never knowing your kids her grandchildren, cutting off her own damn nose. Op reply. Unfortunately, that was something that came to me afterwards. I wish in the heat of the moment it would have come to me so I could show her just how much she was risking by just thinking of it. I'm really debating not even telling her when my husband and I are on the way to the hospital, and just letting her find out about the baby's birth over a Facebook post when everyone else besides a select few people do. Commenter, guess she gets to be the last to find out you're in labor. But seriously, ask yourself, if she causes this much trouble for you, do you really want to expose your child to that? Op reply. I'm debating even telling her when the baby is born, though I'm sure my husband will give me the look and tell me that I should, and then tell me something logical like, she already knows the due date, so even if you don't tell her, she'll text you asking if the baby was born. But I tell you, the huge relief I felt after finding out she wouldn't be able to make it to our baby shower in 2 weeks, which I invited her to only out of legalities because she's my mother. Or in my husband's words of, "Dear, remember, if she can't make it, she'll probably send gifts for the baby," to which I immediately caved because that's less money that he and I would have to spend out of our own pockets, Elmau. But honestly, he didn't really want her there either, so when she texted me and told me she wouldn't be able to make the baby shower, we both let out a huge breath of relief, lol. Commenter. I wouldn't tell anyone when you're on the way to the hospital. Send a group message to the parents and other important people that the baby arrived safely and they can come visit when you're ready. Sounds like you and your husband need this process to yourselves. Tell no one until the baby arrives. Op reply. As of now, I think the only people we're gonna tell when we're on the way to the hospital is the prayer group, where my husband and I met so they can be praying for a safe labor and delivery. We're not wanting visitors until after 24 HRS after the birth in order for us to rest and bond with our baby. Last thing I want, after spending who knows how long pushing a human being out of my body, is immediately having visitors bombarding us and preventing us from being able to recuperate.